Uh, so here we are after the day after the big shareholder day. So much news. I reported all that news last night. If you haven't looked at the video, you can go back and check that out. But today I wanted to get as quickly as possible. I wanted to get Dr. No, you're not doctor. I keep.
Yeah, I am.
Doctor,
I am. Well, not Dr. Know-it-all. Yeah.
Yeah, you're Scott Walter, PhD.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So anyway, we want to get Dr. Scott on here and talk about what we saw with regard to Optimus, but he wanted me to start the show. Well, first of all, if you like this content, like, subscribe, notify, all that kind of shit. Okay, back to the main script here. You wanted to show the picture of Elon with his shirt.
Yeah, but first, I think we need to get to the big news first.
The big news first. Go ahead.
The big news.
What's
I got a haircut.
Yeah, I know. I know. You no longer look like Back to the Future.
Yeah, don't worry, it'll grow back. Just wanted to get that out of the way, okay?
All right, okay.
Here we go.
For those who have not been on my channel or not seen you on John's channel for a while, yes, the haircut. I wouldn't have recognized you in the mall.
Yeah, that's the idea. I'm just having too many people coming up to me, so I had to go incognito.
All right. So what about the shirt? Tell me about. I mean, he's hiding.
Well, what? I mean, he's got a closet full of all kinds of T-shirts. We know that he could be wearing like a Raptor T-shirt or a Starship T-shirt or a Cybertruck T-shirt. But which is the T-shirt he is wearing today?
So I'm having a hard time seeing it. You know better than I do, but it's an Optimus T-shirt, right?
It's the Optimus T-shirt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to see.
From AI Day 2. Okay. So, I mean, the first thing, as soon as he came out, the first thing I tweeted is like, oh, interesting. He's wearing an Optimus T-shirt. He's signaling something.
Yeah.
And now there was a lot of news. I mean, there was a lot of things in there, and we're just going to talk about Optimus, which comes kind of towards the end. And of course, everyone loved the video.
Yeah, it was, the video was fantastic. Yeah. But yes, I think your point is well made. I made the same point in the video last night, is that clearly it's kind of sub rosa. It's not like in your face, but he's all about Optimus. He is saying they're larger than the rest of the entire company together in terms of revenues and profits. He's saying that it's going to be, obviously a world changer. It was the only thing they did a special video on. There was no product introductions that we might have been expecting. So no, Optimus has got to be way up at the top of his list of what he's working.
Right. Because that was already interesting what he was alluding to about the products. You got these two new products that are coming out, which is, he's not talking about Cybertruck. He's talking about two new ones that are coming out. They're going to add 5 million.
What 5 million units? Yeah.
5 million units is what he's talking about.
But he did say,
and I don't know if it's 5 million. 5 million. And I'm assuming he's meaning eventually 5 million units per year, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
And the way they're going to be produced is going to be revolutionary. I mean, there is a lot there, but he's like, I'm not going to say anything because it's going to be a big presentation.
Right. Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's got to have a reveal day for whatever it is.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed, just on general, is that the meeting was very early this year. Did you notice that?
Early in the day.
No. Early in the year.
In the year. Oh, yes.
Last year was what? Late July?
I think, or even August. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the requirements are when the window of opportunity is for the annual shareholder meeting, whereas it can be any time in calendar year 2023. But it was rather curious that they decided to go so early. And I have a feeling it's because they don't want the shareholder meeting to impact the ramp.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
If you're in the middle of the Cybertruck ramp in July, the last thing you need is like all these people coming in and then just getting in the way for 2 days.
So the first thing that popped into my mind when you said it was they also might be looking at the fact that they have so many reveals coming up, because we're promised an AI day. We know they're going to have a reveal for the Cybertruck, or a handoff, they call it.
Yeah, but that's going to be after the ramp is okay. So they're going to wait until it's not going to be interfering with the ramp, so they're going to do it later. Right. AI Day is going to be in California, so that's not going to affect. The question is, if they do a new product reveal, are they going to do it in Austin, which is just again going to get in the way? So my prediction is between now and when the Cybertruck comes out, there's nothing going on in Austin as far as events.
Got it.
It's just,
right.
They're just, we're down to business at this point. Just, that's it.
Yep.
Clearing the whole thing out. We've got probably a gigapress arriving, next week or something like that, because they were probably looking at the schedule as coming in, and it was like, let's just not get in these shareholders running around, and the parking lot's going to be full. We have to tell everyone to, stay home for the next few days. No, it's like the only way to do it without it interfering is to do that. So that's why I thought it was early.
So we had 5 pretty much look-alike bots, optimized,
yes,
wandering around.
Yeah, I think we could see a couple generations of them.
Oh, could you see a couple generations?
Is that YouTube? It's a little bit hard to go forwards and backwards and stuff like that. So I've got it in some editing software, which means it's kind of hard to make it full screen. But at least we can see the beginning of it. And we can see there's Optimus walking, and now we can see more than one Optimus. And now, of course, we're seeing 3 in this case. The other 2 are in the back. But the first thing I did is I counted them, which I'm sure you did, right? So I'm only off by a factor of 100 now, and you're off by 200.
Well, that doesn't mean that's all there are. It just means all that. That
means that's all they've shown us. That's all that we know.
Yeah.
Right. And so we can kind of look along. And here was rather curious. They're bringing it out into, I don't know, potentially a work area or what they were doing. This, I think, is because they were getting set up for another shot, which we're going to see at the very end.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Now then, we have this motor torque control, which is very interesting for how the leg is going to be working. So that means they can, very quickly sense coming down at a very rapid rate. So this is almost like jumping off of, from a high location, coming on down. That means when you impact the floor, you will be able to detect that and react right away.
I see.
So that's very quick reaction. And then a little bit in here, we see it's right after this. Obviously, it's not slimming down as fast, but it's still coming on down, and they're putting it on a very soft object. So in other words, it's able to react quick enough when it notices that, hey, I'm sensing something here which is out of whack. This is not what I expect. I must be coming onto a hard surface or some kind of surface. And it's able to slow down fast enough that it does not, it may crack the egg a little bit, but it definitely doesn't smash. It's hard to tell. Yeah. And either he is like a really good magician here who swaps the egg out without us noticing it, or he's just kind of proving it's not hard boiled. Right. And I think the point is he's showing it's not a hard boiled egg.
Yeah.
So you really are getting a very quick reaction to be able to make sure that you're not hitting something too hard. And this is going to be important overall. I have no idea how they are controlling this, whether it's a heuristic kind of control algorithm, or whether they're starting to get more into some sort of neural net control. Yeah. But they are doing something here to really teach the control system how it's supposed to react on something, like I say, with very sensitive feedback. Yeah. And if they're able to get the leg to give that kind of feedback and control, remember we've been speculating what they would be doing with the fingers?
Yeah.
Exactly. That when they go to try to close the fingers. So it's like, okay, they really are able to take this to the limit. So there's a lot going on there. And of course, out here, it's rather Optimus is going by and is probably casually looking down at the bikes and saying, who needs wheels?
I thought they saw my DALL-E photo that I used, that I created, showing Optimus working on a bike as one of my thumbnails. Yeah. I thought maybe they saw that, so they wanted to give me a kind of a
I always thought that, the $6 million man, he never rode a bicycle, and I don't know why he never did. I mean, just think about how fast he would have gone on the bicycle. Yeah. He could run 60 miles an hour. Right. Just imagine give him a bike, but they never did. I mean, it's like, but anyway. So this here is very interesting, looking at how they are teaching. And we've seen a lot of these other examples, from Stanford, where they had a lab also of going in and tracking what's going on with a hand to be able to teach a robot to be able to do this. So this is, we're not surprised they're doing this. And we're kind of glad to see that they're doing something like this in order to teach a lot of the different gestures and motion types they're going to have. What's rather interesting is how they are doing the motion tracking. It's not 100% clear here. That's a pretty big backpack on his back. I can't quite figure out why you have such a substantial backpack on there.
Yeah.
But clearly this suit is important. Probably the color of the suit is interested for maybe some camera system or something else, which is using it to track his body. I was expecting to see dots or other things on there to help doing it, but the hands, so clearly they have the glove there, which is able to do the gesture control. So they are not using cameras to tell that. They're able to tell from the glove that he's wearing. However, the rest of his movement and a lot of the movement we see here is getting the torso in there as well as the arms, and then how to grasp something and move it around. And it's trying to teach it probably object recognition and how to grab these different objects. And the other thing I think is going to be interesting, and which I want John to take a look at, is, first of all, he has to be very careful that he does movements that Optimus can do. Optimus cannot move its head.
Yes.
He's moving his head here a little bit. So you will see that he's trying to keep a stiff neck, but right there, you see, he kind of threw his head into the movement rather than his torso, which is what Optimus has to do. So at this point right here, you see there's a complete misalignment between his head and Optimus's head right there.
Yeah.
Because he's able to do this rotation with the neck that Optimus cannot.
Right.
But they need to compensate for that. So, but the torso has to do this because it's very important in this reach. The other thing is you'll notice that he's keeping his feet planted on the floor right now. And so Optimus is learning to do this with the feet planted in there, and you're getting a lot of hip motion in there as well. So the legs are pretty much stationary, but the hip, you see, is doing whatever it has to do in order to get the hand motion and everything else. And it's not quite one-to-one because there's a mapping. His size and his kinematic capabilities are not exactly the same as Optimus. So you have to do a mapping between the two to be able to figure it out. So that's why, like, if you look at this arm pose here, it doesn't exactly match his arm pose. It's just off slightly, but it's close. So, and that's to be expected because probably he's a different height than Optimus, et cetera. And, the arm, the dimensions and everything else. So, that's rather interesting in the training of Optimus and what would be going on there.
So now, do you have some kind of a sense of how many times or how many hours it takes to get the robot to start doing the movement the way they want it to do? Or does it only need to do it once and the robot gets it? Or do they have to do multiple ones at different angles, at different speeds or whatever in order for the bot to understand?
Yeah, I think you need to have after a while, when you probably start to get something built up, it then gets easier and easier because it already kind of knows what to do. So at first you have to start out with different pauses, but it might not be like you have to do everything right in front of you and then do a little bit here, a little bit there. They can do a bunch of things in front of it. Now say when it's over here, figure out how to do the mathematical mapping. So you don't have to teach it grabbing an orange in 100 different places. You just teach it how to grab an orange.
Got it.
And then you teach it how to grab something else. So that's part of what Optimus has to do is to figure out how to do that transformation. And that can be done in software. Now here, there seems to be quite a moment of joy. And if you look down here, I think you can see what I kind of tweeted out, that when I saw the reaction of the engineer in there, when they went over to grab something and it's like, it worked, obviously they had been working on something all night, and look at his reaction and look at this boy's reaction to the launch of Starship. It's like, it's the same.
Right.
It's the exact same thing going on there. The other thing I noticed is that when we're looking on here, so this is not Optimus, this is a model that's in VR. And so it's a kinematic model. And whatever modeling software they're using, I don't know if they're using Unity or something based on their own, it can't do closed kinematic loops correctly. Either that or they didn't put the time and effort in. It's not like it's that critical to what they're doing. It's just that I get really picky. And that is, if you look right up in here, these are the drives for the wrist. Right. And so those are the things that actually move it. And as you see, it falls apart because they have these virtual motors actually at those joints to do the movement for them. So they're calculating those angles, and these things are like, we're not going to figure out the math to get them to move, but it can be done. So that's the first thing that kind of popped out my eyes. There's something wrong there. It needs to be fixed. And so we can go ahead. And so, so we were able to see it's grasping it. there's some interesting things here on the hands is that they're still trying to figure out how to do all the wiring, because we will see on some of these other grasps that the hands have a rather pronounced wire coming on out. Let's see, let me get this back around there. So we can sort of see how this kind of goes in. They have some other, so they're still trying to figure out what's going to be the ideal way to get the cabling in and around all the stuff without it getting caught or broken.
Yeah.
But that's probably coming on down the road. And we can see a lot of different iterations. One other thing that may not have been obvious at first is that I'll go do a close-up here. Let me go 200% right there. Ever wondered how they keep it from falling over?
Oh,
I assumed that they had some grappling hooks in the back.
Yeah.
But no, it's right to the head.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it's right in there, because literally there's nothing in there. The brains it's down in the torso. Remember, that's where the computer is. Right. So Optimus's head really is full of air. That's what evidently there's nothing there. So yeah, that makes for things that are a bit interesting. And then again, I think I was mentioning that as far as we get it back to fit here, when we look at what's going on with this kit, and if we look at it, we can see it's a very interesting headset. Now, if you look at these two cameras here, they don't seem to be pointing straight out from his eyes. They seem to be looking down.
Yeah.
And then you have a camera here and a camera here that's looking to the side. Now, we know that Optimus has the cameras on the side that would be here and there. But we don't know what's going on anywhere else. And we know the FSD can handle up to 8 cameras. And we weren't sure whether they're going to have the full 8 or whether they're just going to have 4. But it looks like there's 2 here and 2 there. So I assume there's 2 others that are looking straight out. And then they probably have some, because again, Optimus can't do this. So in order to look down, you need to have something that's looking down. So apparently maybe that's what they're doing, if this is supposed to be the same as the camera system there. I assume it's mimicking it in some way or form.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's going to have to have a similar form. So another little thing to kind of point out. And again, when we're looking at this task, look how the feet are planted there. The feet are not moving. Yeah. But the rest of the body is. It's keeping the feet right on down there. And then this gets rather interesting. When I looked at this was rather disturbing, because you look at the tops of their heads. Yeah. I mean, talk about my haircut. It's like, look at theirs. So it was kind of strange when I was looking at that. It's like, oh, that's creepy. So, just minor things. You can see there's like a lot of different versions here. And that if you look at the fabric right here, you'll see it's kind of different colors. There's a kind of gray, black, and this one is like all the same color through.
I see. Yeah.
I don't know, different supplier, different fabric that day, different version, whatever's going on there.
Want to be able to tell the twins apart?
Oh, I can tell them apart already. First of all, this guy here is the boss. Okay, so they're out. I don't know if what they're doing is some square dancing there. It looks like they're getting ready to do some square dancing. And so who's leading the pack? Can you tell me who?
No.
This one right here.
Yeah.
He's the only one with the belt buckle.
I see.
They're all Sans belt buckle. So that's the only one with the belt. The other thing that kind of stuck out is you'll notice that this is probably the first generation actuators. These actuators are silver. Oh yeah. And then these are all changed over to black. And if you look at, when you're going around, look at it, you'll see the wiring's a little bit different. I mean, you can tell every one of them is sort of being made bespoke a little bit as they make a change here, or they have to wire something around. So there are subtle differences here and there. I mean, the major components seem to be the same. And what's interesting about the feet is you'll notice the feet are basically the flat feet. Let me get it back to where it was. Let's see. Okay. The feet that we're seeing here are definitely flat. Oh, and the other thing, Randy, is looking at this image. What's striking about this image? Because if you just took this image and just tweeted it out to like random people in the Tesla community, they'd all gravitate to some different thing that's important about this image.
Yeah. Well, one thing would be that they're in front of a Cybertron. No, that isn't it.
Your articles, Randy, you're using the singular in front of a Cybertruck,
in front of multiple
Cybertrucks. Exactly. Okay. This is the first time I'm aware of that you are seeing 3 Cybertrucks in the same picture.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. So they're making a few at least, because we know there's some in the wild.
What we don't know is that if you kind of look at what's going on, we don't know if they move the cars around a little bit, but in the beginning, there's like when they kind of come charging on in, there's another Cybertruck kind of over there, and the cars in the bay are a little bit different. So you might be able to infer that, it might be another Cybertruck actually over here or here, but we know for sure there's 3 in existence. Now, I think Elon said something about that they just got this done yesterday. Now, I don't know if that's like everything, if they shot it yesterday or pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But if they did, those 3 are in Fremont, and we know there was one in front in Austin. Okay. So we know there's 4 in existence at least.
Yes. And probably quite a few more.
I would think quite a few more at this point. Yeah. So that's interesting just to see multiple Cybertrucks in the same picture. And then of course, to see this many Optimi already. Right.
And then the flat feet.
Oh yeah, the flat feet. If you remember in the Investor Day video, there was the 3 Tesla bots that we saw there. There was the one that was on the operating table, and the one on the operating tables had what looked like more advanced feet, a different foot design. And that's the foot design that you see on display around the world, like at the Peterson exhibit, and I think over in Korea and China, where they had those different shows. So whatever bot is that's moving around, which is kind of the prototype, it looks like he has more kind of these air sole kind of things.
Yeah.
Very different. But we have not seen the Tesla bot walking on those. We've only seen the Tesla bot sitting on an operating table with them and standing up, somewhere in an exhibit somewhere. And speaking of which, I just like knocked mine over. So it seems like for some reason they're not advancing the foot design, or maybe that's coming a little bit later because there's some issues they have to work out. So it's still walking flat-footed. Yeah, that's definitely what we can tell. And so we sort of see the feet go down. We don't have a heel toe or toe off or anything like that going on. Yeah. But we are seeing that there is the pelvic unlock going on in the movement. So when the bots are walking, pretty much their torso is staying frontwards. Otherwise, and I have to kind of get it down. Otherwise, if you didn't have that pelvic unlock, you'd be kind of walking like this around. But because you can get that movement in the torso and everything, you can walk, the hips can sway back and forth, but you can make sure that your torso is leading straight ahead. So if you're carrying a box or something, it's not always wiggling back and forth. You're able to maintain that. So that's definitely one of the things that looks like they can do. And it seems like they're advancing. Like looking at the reactions of some of the engineers and everything in here, it feels like they've made great progress.
Yeah,
just kind of reading the emotions, reading between the lines a little bit, but you just get that sense. And again, the T-shirt.
Can you? That'd be a really fun place to be working right now.
Yeah. And as far as like my snarky tweets, this is like kind of weird here. The shaved heads that are there, who's the leader, and the different Cybertrucks. And this one here is that he looks completely bored. He's got a job to do. I'm just going on down here, and these robots are walking by. It's like he care less. He's like, again.
So anyway, well, it's like you point out, they've made a major advance. He promised us a 30-minute podcast at the next earnings call about Optimus.
Yeah. Yes.
So that was another good promise. Now, a lot of these promises, it's not like he doesn't intend to deliver, but some of them don't.
Sometimes it's hard, but if it's somehow associated with an earnings call, it might work, because think about it. David Faber was able to get his interview with Elon because it was like between the two things and they were down there. So it's not like Elon had to suddenly fly off somewhere else for some interview. Right. It's like they sandwiched it in between when he was going to be there, and he didn't have to go to an engineering meeting or something like that. Yeah. So they're able to put it in there. So if there's 30 minutes after the next earnings call, that would be absolutely great. And I would think it would be possible it's going to happen. And so it sounds like, I don't know, John might have got it.
I know. It's unbelievable. I was so excited for him that he might get
Yes.
that interview. So,
Yes.
And hopefully he'll not just talk about FSD. Maybe he'll get 5 minutes. He'll give 5 minutes to Optimus too.
Yes. Because I was really surprised that he ended up getting in there, because he sent me a message that said he was standing in line, and I think he did that the last time, but he wasn't even close to the front line. So he said, "Oh, he's way back," and then suddenly, whoa, he's up there. But he went for the FSD question. Of course, I sent him a couple of questions about Optimus, but he decided, FSD was like
so
top
then
of his mind.
So then, if there are those of you in this listening audience who have any influence over the Optimus project, the only thing I'm asking for this next video at earnings day, would be an Optimus doing an honest day's work. I just want to see him actually doing a physical job where he could be useful for having done that work. That would be my goal for that video.
Yeah, and that was kind of like one of the questions that I threw at John. One is like, are there any examples of it doing any work on the shop floor?
Right.
Has it done anything? It's just prototype reality, or is it still just kind of in the lab kind of setting? And the other question, which was probably kind of dear to my heart, but more dear to your heart, is like, how many?
Yeah, them are there.
How many are there?
Yeah, well, and the other side of the coin that I just thought of now that I hadn't really thought of before is, yes, I can see the need for 1,000, 500, 1,000, whatever the number might be. I can see the need for that, but I can also understand that the need for that might not be there yet. So in other words, maybe need 5 or 10 right now.
Yes, it could be until they worked it out. And I think James made it actually very succinctly, which I know when you're talking about James Dalma, it's really hard to say James Dalma and succinctly in the same phrase. But on Herbert the other day, he really did make the point that you're not going to start mass producing it if you're still tweaking. You've got to get it up to some point that you're really confident that the design is really close, so that you don't produce 1,000 of them and suddenly have to go out and change everything. Like, we're going to change the hands, we're going to do this and that, or we've got to add a new sensor. So they're first going through to make sure they have enough. And he felt certainly a dozen or more now would make sense, just to kind of go through to find out what are the weaknesses and shortcomings that you have to do. Then you get that, and then you can ramp up. But he still didn't rule out that you couldn't have a large number of them by the end of the year. So there's still hope, but we're not in June yet. We still have more than half the year.
We have time.
Still half of May left. So don't worry, Randy. We're not looking that bad.
Well, Scott, I want to thank you for jumping on quickly after the earnings day call. And for those of you who love having Scott on, hit the like button right now if you haven't already done it, and then hit subscribe and notify and all that stuff, and Patreon, and then also go over and check out, make sure you're following Scott. If you're not following Scott, you're missing a few giggles almost every single day.
Yeah, that's about it. That's a bit, yeah. I'm almost,
So yes,
I probably should have been a comic strip writer in another life or something like that.
All right. Again, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. And for all of those of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Click the link below to get your paperback, Kindle, or audiobook now.